Hi everyone, my name's Lily. I'm the book reviewer behind Utopia State of Mind, and I'm going to bring you my May wrap up. So let's just start off with how was May. I feel like May went by in a blink. Like I don't know where May went. In many ways, I was still recovering from April. If you saw my April wrap up, which I will link down below, April was intense. May was also intense because I was trying to get back on track. I was reading a ton of books. I think at one point I was reading, I think 8 books, maybe 8 or 9, counting my audiobook. It was actually, well, it was too much, but it was actually kind of mind boggling too much. I just felt like the time just went away from me basically because of that. I was reading a book I needed to give to a friend for a book club. I was reading, I finally was able to read and start Catabasis. I also was reading a different book that I had forgotten about on top of my normal 4 book schedule. Then I had my audiobook. It was just a lot. And so I feel like 2 weeks I had to do this to kind of get all of the things in a row and like get the tours and whatever posted and everything and interview questions and stuff like that. So that just made half of May feel like it went by when I wasn't even looking. May has also started now what is starting to be the hot season. I don't know how the summer will go. I'm not a summer person. I also tend to have a lot of issues during the summer. I'm very susceptible to heat. I guess I'm just weak to the heat like that. I get heat fatigued or like heat ill very, very often and easily. I also get like heat rashes. I don't know what it is. I also don't really have never gotten allergies, but every summer for the last couple years, and I went to some doctors about it, and I haven't anymore because I felt like it was useless, but I went to some doctors, and so I get like these itchy bumps and they think it's an allergy, but they can't figure out what it is, and I've done tests and whatever. Like it's the beginning of that was kind of happening at the end of May, so I'm not happy about June, July, August, but I just have to grit and kind of bare my teeth and get through it. Try to stay as cool as possible. I've already broken out like all the cooling systems that I have. I have my ice packs, my ice ready. I'm not looking forward to, but I'm already not looking forward to the June wrap up. So see you in June, I guess. What did I make in May? I came back and I'd gotten some yarn and I really wanted to do a sweater vest or a slipover is how I've been seeing them in patterns because I've been looking at a lot of different patterns. Some of them who are more European and they kind of call it like a slipover, I guess. And so it's not the season at all. I was trying it on the other day and I was like, this is so hot. I hate trying this on, but I'm getting ready for the fall, I guess. I'm filming actually a whole vlog content for it, and that will be coming out soon. It was not done yet because I'm not done with the slipover. I'm just showing you my progress. But I'm filming a vlog for that. You all have seen clips from my TikTok about the slipover. And I'm also filming a vlog for my reading thoughts about Catabasis. So I'm not actually going to be giving like a mini review in this video like I normally do because that's a whole separate vlog. And then it will be a whole separate video in and of itself, if that makes any sense. So I have to reorganize my thoughts about what I want to share where. But anyway, I have done a lot of this so far. So basically, I've knit the whole body. This is what it looks like. And I finished casting off the rib this the other day. This almost broke me. I spent a whole weekend just kind of in tears over this. I won't spoil too much of the vlog. Also, it looks a little wonky because I had 2 lifelines here that, so if you see lines and you're like, oh, I don't think you did it right, I'm pretty sure I did it right. The lifelines made the stitches look weird, but I'm hoping that when I wash it and block it, it will look better, I guess, is my point. Today what I want to do is cast on and finish one of the armhole ribbing. It would be great if I could do 2. And then the next day I could do the collar. I like trying to do a little bit. I now understand why people have multiple works in progress because I feel like I've done so much on this. I don't want to do anymore, but I'm so close that I have to. I wove in all the ends last night just because that's my least favorite part, and I knew that if I didn't do it, I would have to, and I would never finish it. So I did that, except I haven't done the one for the bottom because I'm going to leave that on until I've washed it as well, on the off chance that I decide that I need to redo it. I hope not. Anyway, that is what I've made in May. I'm also going to get started with some earring creating process. I have some new tools and new cutters and stuff, some koi fish cutters. I'm really excited for that, and I want to embark on that in the next couple of months. I like doing more clay stuff in the summer because the clay is a little bit warmer, and so there's a little bit less manipulation that has to happen. Let me talk now about the books that I read, and then I will show or talk about my statistics. So this is a chunky pile this month because Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell is like 5 million pages. So these are all the books that I read. It is a lot, but as I said, it's because Jonathan Strange is basically a weight in and of itself. In terms of statistics, I bang on this month, 33% featuring queer characters as main characters and 60% featuring characters of color as main characters. So I feel really, really good about that one. I think it's because a lot of it I was sort of getting ready for going into June. I'm finally a little bit, I would say 2 weeks ahead of schedule, and since I want to be reading a month in advance, so basically I would like to be reading things right now that come out later half of June/July. I'm not there yet. I think I'm still halfway through June in terms of my schedule, but I need to be further. So I'm getting closer, but I'm not on track yet. And so in general, I feel pretty good about what I read, the statistics and everything like that. And so I'm going to share favorite books. I do want to mention just a few caveats. The first is that I will not be, let me just go from the bottom actually, because there are a few caveats that I want to chat about. So let's just go from the bottom. The first is that I'm doing a whole video about this chunky book. You cannot ask me to listen to 30 hours of an audiobook, read 5 million pages, and have complicated thoughts and not have a whole video devoted to that. Like, I just refuse. The amount of work, months, days, hours, minutes of my life that I've put into this book, it is going towards something which did not necessarily go towards my enjoyment of the book. Secondly, I also wanted to mention as well, kind of what I've already said as well, I'm not going to be telling you my final thoughts about Calabasas. Those will come in future videos. That's the next thing I wanted to chat about. And I think that's all the caveats that I have. So let me just talk about my favorite books. This month, I read basically across every genre possible. I read middle grade, I read YA, I read a romance, I read adult. Like, I read so many different genres, so many different age groups. And that's one of the bright spots of my May, actually, was that I felt really good about that. So let's just go from age group up. I'm going to start off with the 2 middle grades that I read and really loved. The first one is Clues to the Universe, which I love a middle grade STEM main character. And this was just so precious because it not only talks about the grief for fathers, but it talks also about sort of comic books. It talks about being interested in space. Like, it was just so heartwarming in the ways that Clues to the Universe has all these multifaceted layers of development. As I said, there's complex family dynamics in both of the families. And then there's also this idea of ambition. I listened to this on an audiobook while I was knitting, and it was so good. I loved it, and I can't believe that it's taken me so long to get to it. The other one that I read was The Queen Bees of Tyche County, and this was also adorable. It is this like queer questioning, queer discovery, self-acceptance, not only looking a little bit at kind of like our family past, family secrets, and family lack of acceptance, also a little bit about racism, and it also talks about kind of having this idea, having 2 separate parts or multiple parts of yourself and wanting to be around people that don't make you pick between those parts. For a middle grade, this was the perfect theme, and I cannot wait for everyone else to read it. This comes out soon, or it came out recently, whereas Clues of the Universe came out a couple of years ago. So those are the middle grade books. Now we're going to go to the 2 YA picks. Oh, wait, no. I have 3 YA picks. I don't know why I said 2. I have 3 YA picks. And let me just chat with I'm going to end with the one that I just finished before I've basically filmed this, or like the last day. Let me just start off with Celestial Banquet. This was so good. I've really loved Roselle Lim's books in the past. This is the perfect melding of magical competition meets food. It is just so precious. It's also a book about ambition and ethics. I got lost in the food scenes. I got lost in the magical fantasy scenes. Like, this book, I barely took any notes because I was so absorbed while reading it. I really loved it. The cover is gorgeous, and it takes everything I really love about Roselle's writing, which is mostly the characters that I really love, and puts them into this book in a fantastic way. So definitely recommend this one. I also love the tagline, "The Gods Are Always Hungry." It chats a little bit about the schism between immortality and mortality in terms of what people or gods or, anyone care about, and sort of where we get amusement from. I feel like there's a huge theme in books with immortal creatures or immortal beings where they kind of realize that nothing really phases them, and Celestial Banquet definitely chats about this theme. I also really loved The Enemy's Daughter. This is a Tristan and Isolde YA dystopia. I really, really loved the dystopian aspect. I have not read a dystopian in a while that has really captured me so well. It's kind of set in this post-apocalyptic, we're not really exactly sure what happened, but post-apocalyptic setting in which kind of society has, in some ways, reverted back to sort of a clan, family, and community structure. And for the main character, she also is in sort of a repressive, patriarchal part of this world too. But it's about that, and it's also about kind of like enemies, and what if you expect to see an enemy and you see someone, then you're obviously going to assume they're an enemy. So that's a lot about confirmation bias, a lot about loyalty, a lot about trying to figure out what we really know about a society or family even. And I really love that. The romance is also super swoony, but for me, my favorite aspect definitely had to be the dystopian look at trust and communities into the future, and also the knowledge that gets lost in this post-apocalyptic dystopia setting. What things are retained, what things are forcibly lost, I guess, and what things are honored and admired and tried to kept alive, if that makes any sense. So that's definitely the second YA that I loved. And the last one is the one I finished basically on the last day of the month. It is Skip Shock. I had no idea what I was getting into when I read Skip Shock. I have a niche kind of sub-interest that I love about time travel, time manipulation, anything like that. Skip Shock is definitely this. The world building is so fabulous and so fascinating to me. Kind of this idea that certain worlds have their days are shorter, and certain worlds their days are longer. There are these trains that move between the worlds. You can kind of get skip shock, which is this sort of time traveling sickness, because your body is going from like a 2-hour world to a 6-hour world, and so that kind of impacts you. But it talks about that. It talks about privilege a lot. And talks about rebellion in the kind of world building premise. And also the twists and turns in this book were fantastic. It's the first, I think, of a duology, and I am just so honestly just blown away by how much I loved this book. I've been trying to read more and more time travel books, more and more timey-wimey books, and this one absolutely captivated me in terms of the potential of time traveling as a way to make commentary about society, commentary and values, and sort of the government in general, for example. And Skip Shock is so good. As I said, I had no expectations really going into it because I really haven't read the author before, even though the author has been on my TBR. I haven't read the author before, but this one just got me. I'm so excited for book 2. I want to talk now about 3. 3 adult fantasies. The first one obviously is Calabasas, which I'm not going to talk about, but I just wanted to mention that it is in my favorites. The second one is The Lures of Their Graves. This is a sequel to The Sins on Their Bones, and I can't really talk too much about it because it is a sequel. But what I really loved about this one, not only does it kind of talk about the aftermath of what it would be like, that's all I can say, I guess, the aftermath of what it would be like, but I think it also really beautifully explores trauma, flashbacks, grief, and also for rulers or for anyone who has a lot of responsibility and a lot of power, this kind of schism between what we want as a person versus what we want as a leadership figure, and what happens when these kinds of things intersect and what happens when those are at odds with each other, is a huge theme in The Lures of Their Graves, and that's why I loved it. Also, the character dynamics, I can't talk too much more about it because those are spoilers in terms of what happens and who and why, so that's all I can really say about that one. And finally, Arcana Academy. I have really loved Elise Kova's books in the past. I was going to say The Rebels of Loom. The Alchemist of Loom is one of my favorite steampunky fantasy books. And Arcana Academy is a tarot card magic system. And I really, really enjoyed this one. I have really loved basically every book I read that has been tarot-inspired fantasy. And this one was really good in the way that it talks about what each card can do. I just think it's such a fascinating world premise. I also really liked the character dynamics and the kind of enemies, rivals, like dynamic that they have there, the found friendship group as well, and the twist specifically at the end, which I obviously can't talk about, but I really loved this one. This one kind of swept me away. In May, there are a lot of books that I read, but the ones that I'm talking about in my favorites videos are the ones that kind of broke through this like 8 book at a time reading haze that I had. When you're reading so many books at a time, or when you're like me, who has a very strict scheduled reading system, it's really special when a book captivates you and makes you want to keep reading when you're reading so many different books, and Arcana Academy definitely fit the bill there. And now I want to chat about 2 adult romance books that I read and I really loved. The first one is Kiss Me Maybe. I adored this one. This one features an ace main character, and she is kind of questioning and examining and navigating her ace identity on TikTok, and sharing that, and also having this competition kind of thing to be kissed for the very first time. And I really loved her navigating this identity, and also the way that it sort of happens with your family, with friends, and also personally, and knowing that kind of having these ideas doesn't necessarily mean that the exploration period or exploration phase is over. You're always kind of continuously coming out or exploring how you feel. That was one of the themes I loved. It was super, super swoony, and I kind of loved the idea of figuring out who you are while being kind of in the internet eye. I mean, you're choosing it, and in this case she is choosing it, but at the same time, the grace and sort of the empathy that is given to you as sort of a public internet persona while also being a real person as well was a very interesting theme in Kiss Me Maybe, and I really loved the family side characters. And finally, there's The Summer Between Us, which is a dual timeline. I was going to say dual perspective. It's not dual perspective. Dual timeline childhood crush second chance romance book. It was so good. I loved the family memories, or the second timeline, the flashback timeline, a lot. Secondhand romance, childhood crush, childhood sweethearts is kind of my ideal trope sandwich. So I kind of always read books that have this, and I really, really loved the emotions behind it. It's also a book where I felt like the character's evolution and development as a character, the main character, was really well developed in relation to the romance. I feel like sometimes the romance can take over and you kind of lose the thread of the self-discovery. But in The Summers Between Us, we really see how our main character is struggling for her own sense of identity, for her own sense of ambition and what she wants to do. And the flashbacks, the dual timeline perspective kind of thing, it really makes you remember and wonder kind of where things deviated, where things went wrong, where these feelings stemmed from. And I just felt like it was such a great use of the timeline, a great use of the past figures, and it all merged and worked really well together. And that's why it's in my favorites. That brings me to the end of my May wrap up. Please let me know down below what your favorite book for May was. And I hope to see you in the next video. In general, probably not the June wrap up because I do not anticipate June being very good. But I hope to see you in the next video on this channel. Have a really great rest of your reading day, week, month, and year. And I will see you later. Bye.